Hi, I'm James Walker, Senior Editor at Data Center Knowledge, coming to you live from the news desk, Data Center World 2025 here in Washington, DC. I'm here with Marc Caiola, Vice President of Global Data Solutions for nVent's Cooling and Networking business, and Michael Morrison, Director of Liquid Cooling Solutions at Valvoline Global. Marc and Michael together bring several decades of business experience across a range of industries, and they're here today to discuss the latest trends in liquid cooling and an interesting collaboration between nVent and Valvoline. Marc, Michael, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Marc, I'd like to start off by discussing a term that's on everyone's mind here today that ties in directly with the AI conversation, and that's efficiency. With soaring power demands and the rise of energy-intensive, high-performance computing infrastructure, the need for more efficient cooling solutions is more important than ever, and liquid cooling is increasingly becoming a viable option. From your perspective, what are the core industry requirements when it comes to fluid management and liquid cooling systems today?
Yeah, I think first of all, safety is important.
Yeah.
So having the proper PPE when handling any kind of fluids in any type of environment is very important. So we always think about that first, especially thinking about liquid cooling. Next is performance and reliability is very important. So especially the coolant, the fluid is within a liquid cooling solution is the lifeblood, right? We're putting this through some very high invested compute. So we have to make sure that we have highly reliable fluids that are running through our highly reliable heat exchangers and pump constructs, because we want to have that performance, but also make sure that from a sustainability of that product as well, and that solution is very important for us. So I think those are the key areas from that. And then the most important part is maintenance. Making sure there's a really strong regimen and maintenance regimen, at least once a quarter, checking those fluids out for any kind of additives in there that might be impacting the actual overall performance of your liquid cooling loop. I think that's something where Valvoline actually comes in really well in providing that type of regimen.
Okay, fantastic. And so Marc and Michael, Valvoline and nVent are collaborating to help advance the liquid cooling conversation in data centers and high performance environments. Could you walk us through how this collaboration came about? What brought your teams together, and what capabilities does each company bring to the table to enable scalable liquid cooling solutions?
Certainly. I think most importantly, we have a mutual understanding of how important liquid cooling is. And so what we've seen a lot in the industry as liquid cooling has evolved is that great hardware is developed and great fluids are developed, but they're not always developed in tandem. And so to help achieve maximum performance, maximum reliability, it starts in the lab, it continues on the production line, and then it continues throughout the life of the equipment. And so that's something we've aligned on, that if we want to help achieve that, we can work together to do so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what helps that too is we pride ourselves in the talent that we've brought into the nVent team. And a lot of our talent has a lot of experience with Valvoline, so that really made it a natural progression. There's that history and understanding of the chemistry side of it, and the importance of the fact that the brand promise that we want to drive to our customers collectively is performance and reliability, and driving that home and making sure that it's sustainable as it relates to again, it comes back to what I said earlier, the maintenance regimen as well as the fluids have to be top quality.
Okay, interesting. I'm sure most people at this event are well aware that data center cooling systems are mission critical. Any failure or downtime can lead to serious consequences for operations and hardware. What kind of tests or validation processes, Michael, do you conduct around fluid management in liquid cooled systems to ensure the performance, safety, and reliability at scale?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you mentioned that the mission critical nature of the IT equipment. Well, if the IT equipment is mission critical, then the cooling has to be mission critical as well.
Yeah.
And so it again starts in the lab. So we're looking for material compatibility. The very first thing we do is make sure that whatever components are in the system are fully compatible with the fluids that are a part of that. And so a lot of testing goes into place. And it's not only the testing, there's a lot of conversation that happens with all the various vendors that can be involved in going in, because even after we test, we want to make sure something doesn't get added to the system that is not compatible, right? So there's a lot of checks and balances that go on throughout the process. Beyond just the setup, once it's installed, there's actually ensuring that fluid stays in a reliable state over the long term. And so there are programs like fluid condition monitoring, where there's a cadence of samples and tests that occur, where we're ensuring there's no contamination, there's no oxidation, no corrosion that's happening over the long term. And so again, to reliability, we want this to last, as long as the equipment can possibly last, a peak reliability, whether that's a handful of years that it's intended to do, or even decades at this point.
Okay, thank you.
It's true. Nobody wants a fouled heat exchanger, and nobody wants to deal with a fouled CPU or GPU.
Yeah,
Right?
sure.
That's important.
That's right.
Valvoline is a very well known and renowned brand in the automotive industry for its expertise in fluid management. What prompted the company to move into the data center space? And in your view, are there any similarities between the demands of the automotive industry and the evolving needs of the data center space?
Yeah, there are quite a few. So Valvoline, we're fortunate to be a part of a almost 160-year-old brand. So if you think about what was in place 160 years ago, we were still operating on steam engines. And so as steam turned into combustion, Valvoline was there as temperatures got hotter. And we've survived through World War I and World War II and helped industries that were a part of those, really enhance their operations through the use of fluids and manage higher temperatures as well. And so when we saw this rapid acceleration of chip temperatures, it became very obvious to us that we have some of the best heat management specialists in the world, and we need to offer that expertise to this industry. And so, you think about a CDU, a coolant distribution unit. It's very similar to a car. If you think about it, there are pumps, there are manifolds, there are heat exchangers, and there's fluids in that. The only really different thing I can think of is that once you turn a CDU on, you don't like to have them stop.
This is true.
And Mark, with the latest performance requirements for GPUs pushing the limits of traditional cooling solutions, where do you see the industry heading in the future, particularly in relation to liquid cooling technologies? How do you foresee these technologies evolving to meet the growing demands of high-performance computing?
Yeah, so I think we're still in this transformational path here, right? If we think about, we've surpassed the cooling capabilities of air, and that's why liquid cooling is on everyone's minds, right? As we're seeing it more and more deployed, we're seeing all the GPUs coming out now, and even CPUs saying there's a requirement to have liquid cooling to handle that heat loads, the rising heat density, so that's important. I think as we start evolving, we'll see the ecosystem starting to gravitate towards standards, because there'll be standards of not only from a design perspective and performance, but also from making sure that we have resilient capabilities within those products and solutions. So, and I think things like direct-to-chip or direct contact or even in immersion cooling are going to be very important. And certainly that does marry up well with the lifeblood, which is the fluid that's running through the veins of the cooling loop itself, making sure that all that is maintaining its capabilities. And I think as cooling requirements start to increase, even more heat loads in a smaller compact design, we're going to even need more innovation in that area, not only from the electromechanical and thermal part, but also from the fluids and being able to handle that.
Mark, Michael, thank you very much for the great conversation. It's clear that innovation in liquid cooling is heating up, and we'll be watching closely to see where this collaboration leads next. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.